All right, a very good evening. You're right on time. Welcome to this special edition where we are going to discuss matters to do with justice, peace, reconciliation and creation, being the JPRC week. And this is the right time to talk about matters to do with securing peaceful election. So wherever you are watching us from, welcome aboard, and we are going to have a very good discussion in the next 1 hour. Of course, talking matters to do with leadership qualities and issue-based campaigns. Of course, being a critical area for us to have a peaceful election. That is what we are going to discuss this evening. Of course, there is so much that has been happening in regards to matters to do with the political temperatures, but all the same, the calls that continue to rise is that we may have peaceful election this evening. That is the discussion that we are going to talk about. How can we be able to achieve good leaders, those that have integrity, as well as leaders that articulate the issues that face the common Kenyan? That is our discussion this evening, and allow me to welcome my panelists this evening in our studio. And on my near right is Van Charles Chege, who is the chair of the NCCK Nairobi County Coordinating Committee. Welcome to the program. And on the far right is Diana Waruguru, our Focus Peace Campaign Coordinator. They were going to have this discussion. Of course, we would have heard Reverend Elias Otieno Agola is the director of JPRC, but he has not been able to make here this evening. But all the same, we continue with our discussion. And I just want to welcome you to our studios this evening. Karibuni sana.
Thank you very much for this invitation and for this welcome. Viewers, we look forward to build our capacities this evening so that we may build a better Kenya for all of us through the forthcoming general elections.
All right, welcome Waruguru to the program.
Thank you so much. It's a joy to be here and looking forward to a productive conversation.
Right, and I want us to begin this conversation on this note. Of course, you've been seeing what has been happening through the months as well. Now we are 24 days to the general election, and the calls that now have continued, those that we may have a peaceful election during and after election, that we may remain as a peaceful country. If you look at the situation, if you look at all factors as of now, do you see a peaceful election from the Kenyan people? Just begin with you, Waruguru.
I think from what has been going on through the months leading to the general election is that there has been a lot of peace and stability. Of course, a few issues of violence here and there, or people booing or shouting at one of the campaign, one of the people who are campaigning, but generally it has been peaceful. It has been very stable around the country, and I think there are also very many people who are working towards ensuring that we have a peaceful election. The church, people are praying. There is a lot of capacity building and civic education going on, but also a lot of campaigns that are going on to ensure that we have peaceful election, and that also we are able to choose leaders that are going to ensure we have peace, we have stability. Also, we've had also some of the candidates also urging the Kenyans to be peaceful, and also saying we don't want a repeat of what we have had in the past.
And just before I come to Mr. Chege, I just want you to tell us about the focus on what their mandate is, and what you have engaged in, and what you do in regard towards a peaceful campaign.
So I work with Fellowship of Christian Unions, which is an umbrella body that coordinates and networks Christian unions in institutions of higher learning, which is the universities, the colleges, and the TVETs. So what we have been doing, because most of the time young people are used as tools for violence and to incite people. So we have been running campaigns since last year. We trained some students to be peace ambassadors in their communities. We've also been having the programs of the Christian unions. There have been a lot of peace programs, Sunday services, Friday fellowships, people doing panels. Some have also done walks in their institutions of higher learning around their communities. We've also had civic forums in various institutions. So there's a lot of work that we have been doing, and especially to empower the young people in the institutions of higher learning, both to be peace ambassadors at individual levels, but also in their communities, because when the elections will be taking place, they will be at home. So we have really been running sessions and a lot of even digital awareness, online campaigns to ensure that we have peace, what good governance is about, but also urging them to participate, because I think there is a lot of voters apathy at the moment. So we've also been telling young people they need to participate, they need to be engaged, and not just in voting, but in the campaign process, in supporting candidates of their choice, because that is what being part of the process requires.
And coming to you, Bwana Chege, you've been able to see how things have been unfolding. Of course, she talked about the young people being at the center of it all, in regards if indeed we must have a peaceful election during and after. If you comprehend all these circumstances surrounding what we are having right now, 24 days to the general election, what do you make of a country that is seeking to have a peaceful election?
First, I want to congratulate Kenyans for their determination so far to keep peace. And I want to really applaud the different groups and organizations which have championed the peace that we need, because for indeed we need peace for all of us. I want to say that when we think about politics, politics is about the peace of a city. And all of us need this peace. I was indeed very delighted to visit Huruma police station. And when I was talking to the officer commanding station, the OCS, he confirmed to me that for the first time in this country, that people of Huruma ran nominations and nobody died. And I think that is something that we need to thank God for. And even as we thank God for that, we need also to thank God for the new methods that even the police have adopted in terms of handling issues among Kenyans. They are no longer very combative. Even on TV, we have seen them generate conversations to talk to people convincingly, because this is a country that all of us are citizens. And even if you think that some people can fry out, the biggest majority are here to stay. So I want to say that so far, we had been having a very peaceful time, and I want to believe that it is possible. I mean, I want to think that Kenyans just need to be annoyed that people die during the campaigns. And because of that annoyance, they say, this time round, we are going to do it differently. And we maintain peace. The word of God calls us that blessed are them that are the peacemakers, not the peace lovers. How I pray that all of us graduate from peace loving to be peacemakers. Thank you.
All right, I think that is a very good point to make of the current situation. Of course, a positive, comment in regards to the road towards a peaceful election. But now we come to the elephant in the room, that is the leadership qualities, of the leaders that we elect. Of course, we've seen on different occasions that leaders have been accused of inciting. Some of them have been accused of mobilizing young people into groups that, cause mayhem and chaos in the political season. If you look at, just to remain with you, Bwana Chege, if you look at the Kenyan people themselves, are the people that make decisions regarding to the integrity of a leader, or what criteria do we elect our leaders? Because this is not the first election, this is not the second, and this is not the last election.
I want to give this a biblical approach as I comment on how we elect people. Human beings, the Bible confirms that we get impressed outwardly. But the Bible says that I, the Lord, searches the heart. And I also want to say that it is very hard for a human being really to search somebody's heart. But the word of God says that we shall know them by their fruits. And I think we have an opportunity as Kenyans to concentrate on the fruits so that we may be able to know the kind of leaders that we need. So people in the past, of course, have elected leaders who they have said they bought for them a packet of unga, or they gave them some little money. Unfortunately, it is selling a birthright to get one packet of unga, and then you as a Kenyan suffer for 5 years. I mean, when you look at it candidly, you and I can take a stance and say no to what is not right. And possibly I can ask, and as to all of us, is it possible that you can say no to what is happening and do it right? I would want to say a big yes, because in the epistle of Paul to Titus, chapter 2, verse 11, he says, the grace of God has been revealed to all men, that they may say no to what is ungodly. So we have been capacitated by the God's grace to say no to what is wrong and get it right to his own greater glory.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I think that is a fair comment and comparison, for people to understand the context of that, as well as, electing leaders of integrity. And just want to come to you, Waruguru. The young people are at the center of it all, being used to cause mayhem and chaos. And for us to have a peaceful election, we must put our house in order for the young people. So for you as a person who is working with a group that majorly, mobilizes young people in the calls for peace and all that, what do you think should be the right choice for us to elect leaders that are of integrity?
Maybe I will actually start with the question you asked, the criteria that we should use to elect leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to give 3 points. That as we look at the leaders who are coming to us for our votes, that one of the things that we should look at is character. And that is on issues of integrity. Are they people who keep their word? When you look at their record and how they have lived their lives, because some of these people, they come from our communities. For example, the MCAs, how have they lived their lives? The second one is compassion. Are they people who are compassionate? Do they love the people that they claim they want to represent, Mm-hmm. Are they just there to give you the unga he's talked about, and then they vanish for 5 years and then they come the next election cycle? So are they people who are compassionate? Are they people who feel the human dignity of the people that I'm going to represent needs to be restored, and they are actually have done things in the past that actually show they are compassionate and they are willing to make things right? But also the last one and the third one is the competence. Does the person have what it actually takes to do the job? Mm-hmm. We were talking earlier about the manifestos, and people have these very good promises, but how do you deliver, How do you actually give people what you have promised that you will give them? So are they also out to change the system so that there is common good and you're not giving handouts to people, but ensuring that systems are sorted out so that it works for everyone? And I think now I will move to the young people, how they mm-hmm. are going to be involved. And I think when we have been doing the capacity buildings or in terms of good governance, we've been telling young people to look at those 3 things: character, compassion, and competence, to ensure that if it is an MCA, if it is a member of parliament, they need to legislate, for example. Do they have the capacity to go and legislate when they go to parliament? When you talk about a governor who is going to have billions of money, how are they going to execute? Mm-hmm. They have been serving elsewhere, either in a public sector or in the private sector. What is their track record? And I think those are important things that we need to look at and to use as a way of looking and weighing what kind of leaders that you want to elect.
Mm-hmm. I think integrity is one of the key issues that for a leader, for someone to become a leader, integrity is very important. But if you look at Kenyans, from what she has been able to say, is that Kenyans are, gullible, and they're able, to fall prey, or rather fall in the trap of these politicians, or rather leaders who come giving promises. But that all means that if Kenyans do not get what they were promised, then they are a frustrated country. They are a frustrated nation, and thus leading to emotional illusion. Of course, if Kenyans are emotionally moved negatively, then that will have an impact to the country's peace and security. Mr. Chege, you've heard what she has talked about. Kenyans and the young people having to look at some of the factors that determine a leader. But we've seen several Kenyans making the same mistake of electing leaders who give promises, and later on, the frustrations build up, and then you find ourselves that we are in a situation that as a country we are shaking. So at this point, and going to this particular election, that is the August polls, we are just 24 days to the general election. What are Kenyans going to do different for them to be able to make a change?
I think Kenyans, because we all love our country, one of the things that we should actually be able to do is to look back. For the last 5 years, those that were elected and went to Parliament, and those that were elected and went to the Senate, and those that were elected and they became members of county assembly. I want to particularly talk about the members of Parliament, because we know that in every constituency, the exchequer gives a member of Parliament about 100 million. If you multiply 5 years, is about 500 million. And our constituencies are not that vast. We need to ask ourselves, for the next 3 weeks, what has been the sitting or the incumbent member of Parliament done with 500 million? If we cannot be able to account, we ask him directly during the campaign, excuse me, sir, or excuse us, sir, or excuse us, madam, because we have members of Parliament who are also ladies. Because you had 5 million for the last 5 years, what did you do with the money? And the moment we are not given the answers that are with contentment, the better thing to do as Kenyans is to send all these members of Parliament home on the 9th of August. I'm not a lawyer, neither a judge, but I like the words that judges put when they are sentencing people. They say, ili liwe somo kwako na kwa wengine. Even with these very heightened campaigns, if we arise as Kenyans and any unaccountable member of Parliament is sent home, any senator is sent home, any MCA who is not accountable is sent home, I want to speak like a man of God that Kenya will get a new dawn. I have that belief. Those of us who know of those years when we went to school not like today. We went to school when there was corporal punishment. We know it's not allowed. But our teachers by then, what they used to do is to make sure that they have rigorously dealt with the naughty boys and girls. And just dealing with one or two in a whole school of 1,000 learners, that stimulated the discipline of this particular institution or school. Back to Kenyans. For us as Kenyans, we have the power. We have the day. the 9th of August. And the power of voting is the power that we have. And we can say, even as lay people, we are sending you home ili iwe somo kwako na kwa yule ambaye anaingia. And once those people get into parliament again, we tell them candidly, we have given you a chance to do the work of Kenyans. I particularly like the way the National Council of Churches would handle this, because we are always for wananchi. For wananchi is that Wanjiko, that woman who, after over 50 years, he still goes to the forest to look for firewood, and uses a road which has no even maram. He went to school without shoes, and his children or her children are going to school without shoes 50 years later. I don't think we need a dictionary to define the problems that this country has. We need only to open our eyes and just decide these people, the only destiny they need to go is home, and we send them home on the 9th.
You talked about sending them home, but we understand the surrounding of our, political campaigns are promises and, telling people that we shall do this, but not outlining how able are they to be able to do that. Our Guru, it's so much, sadness that the larger population does not interrogate what promises are being made, because we have grown into, a nation of campaign promises. But from where you sit and from where you look at things and you see the many promises that have been made so far, are we headed in the right direction for us to make a good choice of leaders?
Yes, would be my answer. And this is the reason is I think we had this conversation earlier, that personally I think there is every good intention and every good desire to achieve a wonderful country that we all envision, all our leaders have envisioned. And I think it's very important to have a vision and to have a goal that someone is working towards. Of course, there is the issue of telling people what they want to hear. But I think the question needs to be, how do we achieve what you are actually asking, the citizen asking, the people, the candidates? How do you intend to achieve what you promise that you're going to achieve? Because, I mean, anyone can say anything in terms of promises. When you look at their manifestos, and I think it's a challenge I want to give us to, Kenyans. Let's take time and read those manifestos. Let's understand, so that when we get an opportunity to have, a one-on-one with our candidates, whether it is online or physical engagement, that you are able to ask questions. How do you intend to achieve 1, 2, 3 things that you have actually promised that you are going to deliver? Because that has been the disconnect for a very long time. So that we are able to make progress, but we are also able to put to task our leaders to think more before they can promise, but also even for them to be more practical, so that even when they get into those positions, they have a roadmap or some guidance in how they are able to achieve. Because I believe one of the things that we have lost over time is community, the communal aspect, which I think has a lot of value. And some of the things actually our leaders are promising, they are things that as a community you just need to come together and work it out as a way of also supporting and ownership of the things that our leaders are promising. So I think the question and the challenging our leaders to tell us, how do you intend to achieve what you have promised? Yes.
Are we casualties of our own wrong choices?
Yes, we are the ones who vote. We are the ones who put those leaders, as he has said, in those positions. And as I was thinking when he was answering the question about our responsibility, I think the first responsibility we have is to vote. There is a lot of voter apathy. People are saying, oh, I will not vote, it won't make a difference. The truth is, not voting is also voting. Because the person who you either don't want will get into the position of power, But also is that even as Christians, we have to those much is given, much is expected, and you will be accountable to God for that vote. So I think the first is to vote, but also taking time to know our candidates, especially our MCAs, you know, our members of parliament, our governors. Some of them are running for a second term. Is to ask what is it that they have done for the last 5 years. Have they put systems in place? Have they structured our communities and our counties? What difference have the billions of money made? And I think those are things that we need to do. The 24 days that are remaining is still very good time for us to actually do something and do these elections differently.
But someone would argue, or rather some quarters of Kenyans would argue that we are not given, you know, the platform, or rather, you know, the situation where we can be able to interrogate these leaders, because for us, we are told to vote. Yeah. It's our mandate to vote our leaders, but we do not get that sufficient platform where we can be able, you know, to interrogate these leaders and interrogate our own people that are campaigning on us, that we can, you know, you're able to know this leader is promising this and that. Some Kenyans would say, or rather would argue, that we are not given that platform, or rather the opportunity to interrogate our leaders. What we only see is them campaigning and eventually finding them on the ballot. Is that a major concern as we head to the August polls?
Yes, I would say yes. And of course, there are many factors that lead to that. And it's probably something that we need to change over time. And of course, when you think about engagement of politicians, sometimes when they are doing campaigns, people are at work, you know, and you can't miss work for you to go to, to follow up a candidate. But I think also is to ask ourselves the few opportunities that have been there. For example, someone has come to, for example, a church, or some of these people have come to schools. I remember I was at home where I come from last weekend, and there is one of the candidates who came, but people just rushed there to get money. So it's that the opportunities are there. They could be minimal, but even the minimal ones, how much are we making? How best are we utilizing those opportunities? And I think that's a very good question to keep asking ourselves. How do we improve our interactions with the candidates? Yes.
And on that note is where I want us to take a very short commercial break, and then we come back to our discussion. So don't go far away, because we're taking a very short commercial break in a few minutes, and then we come back to continue with our discussion. Second part. Don't go far away.
Here on Transforming Families, we offer guidance.
Whatever salary you have, you can still manage a family.
Tackle matters viewed as difficult. You mentioned that if you're not working as a guy, why then are you getting married?
If a man does not have money, then you're not romantic enough to be married.
Hard.
The people born in the 70s and 60s are the ones that have failed the current generation.
And confusing.
We are talking about the Serera children, the children who have been pampered. They are the ones who are not taking care of their own children when they give birth to them.
Creating stable families for a stable society.
Families are work, but you can work it.
All we want is the best for our families, and for our families to be transformed and stable and strong together. Transforming Families, Saturdays at 8 p.m. only on CAC TV.
Are you looking to grow your business? CAC TV offers you a variety of advertising opportunities to suit your budget. Advertise with us today and reach your potential customers countrywide. For more information, email us on sales@cactv.org or call 011 00 90 647.
Pay for your tithes and offerings, PAP, using Family Bank's USSD solution for church collection, Kanisa PAP. All you have to do is register and pay. To register, dial code *325 *5#. Accept the terms and conditions. Enter your first and second name. then your church's 4-digit code and church name. Confirm your registration and you're ready to contribute. To contribute, dial *325 *5 hash. Select your type of offering. Enter the amount you want to contribute. Once done, confirm the amount. You'll get an M-Pesa PIN prompt. Enter your PIN and you're done. You will receive an SMS confirmation from Family Bank. Isn't that easy? Try Kanisa Pap today.
Can expire, and there's a loss.
All right, and welcome back again to our discussion, securing peaceful election. Of course, we're talking matters to do with justice, peace, reconciliation, and creation. And our topic of discussion this evening is matters to do with the leadership qualities and issue-based campaigns. Do we have the quality leaders to elect in the August polls? Of course, that being a factor that contributes to, peaceful election, and of course, during and after the general election. And we continue with that discussion, and I want us to pick it from where we left, of course, and that is something that Bwana Chege was talking about, and you will also answer that question to the Kenyans, that we as a country and we as a people, we've been placed, we've been placed before leaders who, come to us, but do we know the kind of leaders that we have?
First, I want to say that every leader should have a vision, because the word of God says that where there is no vision, people perish, in Proverbs 29 and verse 18. But having said that, we need to ask ourselves, where are we headed as Kenyans? As a student of strategy, we always say that if you don't know where you are going, then any way can take you there. Having said that, we need to ask ourselves, if we treat Kenya as an institution, and we now have vacancies on the 9th of August, what kind of people are we looking for? Because I'm aware that institutions first define their needs. And when they're looking for people to employ or to hire, they look at the vacancy, and then they look for qualities of that kind of a person, and then they do an advertisement. I think in Kenya, we are still like 50 years ago. Diseases are still a problem, ignorance is still a problem, and poverty. And people die because there's no medicine. People die because we don't have possibly qualified personnel. Come to think of how many people fly to India for specialized treatments, and the kind of fundraising that Kenyans go through to put their loved ones to India. So what I'm saying is, as we think about issue-based campaigns and leadership, we need to appreciate that for Kenya, even where we live, there are many things that you can point out and say, for the next leadership, this is what we want to narrow down to. And I want to say that the Constitution allows us to do what we call the public participation. And public participation will help us in where I say we need clean water, we need roads, we need electricity. And once we analyze our needs, then when the person we elect comes, for instance, if he is a member of parliament and he comes with that 100 million, we'll be able to sit down and say, what can 100 million to do with our area of jurisdiction? And this will make a total difference. But the moment, and again, I think for the government and possibly for the Minister of Finance, I think he should be merciful to Kenyans, and he should be able to tell Kenyans when the money has been released. I think that would help. If I know my member of parliament have 100 million, then we'll be able to go and tell him, hey sir, or hey madam, the money was released this week. We know it is not in your hands, but these are the roads that we expect you to help us fix. Possibly these are the health center we would want you to bring the issues like wards and other things. And to me, that is very key. So our way of looking at things is a bit worrying, because as much as I said that the MPs have been given the 500 million, it is true. Ordinary Kenyans do not know when the money was released. And I think we should go for calendars. The minister, the CS of education, is able to tell us, on this day the schools are opening, and on this day they will release money for the free or secondary school campaigns. And the principals settle down knowing the money is coming. So I think we should be able to have this new Kenya, where when the money is released, because it is not released to somebody's pocket, we are able to know that now we have the money, and we can be able to address the money. And we can be able to do something with it. And when the money again is finished, we are told it's finished. And that is very key. And when it's finished, possibly if the year has not ended, we are told with billboards. Because members of parliament are able to put billboards all over. Why can't we demand as Kenyans that they put also billboards and say, for the 100 million that I received in this financial year, I have done the following. And they have told us many times that Kenyans are not fools, which I agree. We can be able to tell if it was classrooms which were built, is it worth the 100 million that we are talking about?
It's about, you want to add something on that?
I want to add, especially when you're looking for the leaders that you want, I think even when we are clueless, the Constitution has provided some guidance. When you look at Chapter 6, on the qualities and the guidelines of leadership, you have issues of accountability to the public in terms of your positions, issues of selfless service, issues of discipline, issues of personal integrity and competence. And I think if we are just able to pick that, even though we don't look at much, we're just able to pick that and weigh these people, kuwaweka kwa weighing scale, and see where does this person lie. And we are of course not asking for perfection, but someone needs to have some level of these qualities that are highlighted in Chapter 6 of the Constitution.
And one thing about all that, and also what Bwana Chege has touched on, is the accountability aspect. But we've seen consistently leaders that are running away from accountability. But at the same time, as they run away from accountability, the same Kenyans, the same people who cry of their lack of accountability still go ahead and elect them for yet another term, for them to also cry again about accountability. So, for Kenyans, is it a matter of making wrong choices, or is it a gullible nation that can just, that has fallen prey to what, as you can say, a system of continued elections?
I think, of course, there is some history in sometimes how we think in terms of community, because sometimes you want to, our leaders have a way of making us see and believe that they are being wanatafutwa by either the other person because they are in opposition, or some people in government, the system is against them. Because I think also one of the challenges for the public is that sometimes there is no way to really tell who is telling the truth at the end of the day. You are not able to verify what is the truth, and I think that is a big challenge. But at the same time, I think the issue of our person, they are getting wanaingilia mtu wetu, or they want to sideline us. Those conversations have been there. And I think that have also affected the way we vote and the way we have been getting people into leadership. And I think those are things that we need to really change as Kenyans, because when that person steals, they don't bring that money to your family. Even though they steal, you don't eat together. It benefits them, it benefits the family, but it is that health center that you needed to go and get medication is that it does not get medication because that one person has stolen, you know. When you are organizing a fundraiser because one of their relatives needs to go to India for treatment, it is because someone stole somewhere and there was no money. The money that would have been put in the healthcare system to buy drugs, to buy equipment, is the money that was stolen. And I think when Mr. Chege had said that we need to teach them, the leaders, our lesson, that when they have been implicated, like now, of course, most of us have been following a case that has been in the limelight a lot, you know, that we need also to build strong institutions that are independent, you know, that are able to uphold the rule of the law. The public good needs to be protected by those institutions. So I think there is a lot that needs to go also in building strong institutions that protect the common mwananchi, but also us also saying, if you have been implicated in a case, we are not going to vote for you. You are going to go home until you are proven innocent.
Bwana Chege, do we have just adding on what she has said, do we have a loophole, you know, of leaders being accountable of what they have done? Of course, we've seen some of them, you know, being implicated in very big scandals that that involve money that was made for the public use but was used on personal means. But then they come back again and want to seek re-election. So do we have a loophole that, you know, enables lack of accountability? Because that is an issue that we must face ahead of the August polls.
I think so. And the reason why I think so is because when people are going for campaigns, many people are going to those gatherings not first to listen to the leadership and the visionary leadership that is being offered. But Kenya, our leaders carry handouts. And so people carry themselves to go and get some money or handouts. And from where I see it, the moment you are able to get 1,000 shillings, for instance, from a member of parliament, you have already transacted business. And I think over the years, I have kept thinking that we have actually kept businessmen in parliament other than leaders. And because they transacted with us at the point of campaign, and we accepted their offers and their bribes, I would want to say that possibly that's a way to sell our birthright. And so when they go to parliament, I think the first thing they do is to think of how much did I spend for the last 1 year during the campaigns. And I can tell you, I think Kenya is a country where campaign is very expensive. Because sometimes we look at the entourage and the size of the lorries and vehicles people are using so that we may think that they are actually good leaders. And I think that's a wrong way to look at it. And so when they have transacted with us and they have actually bought our votes, so when they go to parliament, that's why I keep thinking that first, if they are told they can actually increase the salaries, they increase it very fast. But this should pain us because, as Kenyans we know, parliament people go on Tuesday, half day. They go to Wednesday, a full day. Then Thursday, a half day. To me, those are 2 days in a week. If you multiply by 4 weeks, those are 8 days. And somebody is taking home a whole 800,000 because he's a member of parliament. And he's not even making laws that can help the prosperity of this country. I think that should worry us. And because we have other professionals other than to be a member of parliament, and we know there are many professionals in Kenya where people wait for their salary and they run for 30 days without getting an extra money. That's the reason why Kenyans should look back and say, we didn't get it right. And we are not going to accept people's money. We are going to listen. Sometimes I go to the village and it's very worrying. you hear a certain group of women, for instance, were waiting for a candidate. And they expected the candidate possibly to come at 10 in the morning. And then the candidate comes at 5. You can imagine these moms have not taken even food. And when this person comes, he gives them 200 shillings. And then a packet of unga is over 200 shillings. Then you wonder, what kind of this business? I call it abuse. Because they left their time only for them to find the things have gone wrong. So I think we need to stop. Like Jeremiah 6:16 would say, we are at the crossroad. We actually stop and find out the old days. Because those days when people used to have good leaders in this country, they looked at, for instance, a good leader who is running a very good school, for instance, like prominent schools like Alliance. If that person has maintained the performance of that school for the last 5 years, I think we can call that person from that position, and he's made a CS in education because he has shown, one, he has a capacity of competence. Number two, now that he has been on top, it simply seems that he's a very hardworking and a very focused person. And when we do this kind of person and promote them, I'm sure when people are promoted without paying for it, then they even become better citizens in this country. But the truth is, if somebody gets a position because he bought it, that is the same theory to sustain the same position. And that's why over the years, as Kenyans, we have received handouts. And just for them to remain in parliament for 4 terms, they know our problem is just handouts, so they just wait. They go in hibernation for 4 years, and the final year they come panting with some goodies, and then we think that they're actually the brightest people ever. And then after we elect them, again 4 years. So I think some people work only for 1 year. And this is a paradigm shift that we can all change. Yes.
Waruguru, what should we do different in this election, far from what has been going on for the last election, that we've been making wrong choices, and now we are faced with yet another opportunity to elect leaders of integrity? What should we do different?
I'll say this, and it will sound like a cliche because we have heard it many times, but it is very true, that we need to not vote along tribal lines and look at the guiding principles provided for in the Constitution, look at people's character, look at whether they have compassion, whether they have the competence to actually deliver and do the things that needs to be done. So what we need to do differently is to weigh our leaders. And you know, if it's, for example, in the past people have voted, and where I come from, people say we are going to vote a suit, you know. So you don't even care whether that leader is a good leader or it's not, as long as they belong to a certain party. And I think the most important is to weigh whether the candidate is an independent, whether they are from whatever party. Even the ones that are not popular where we come from, it is to really weigh those leaders and ask, who are they? Are they able to meet our needs? Are they able to do things differently? So I think that is one of the things that we really need to do. And then we need to research and really understand our candidates, you know, from across, from the MCA all the way to the president, and look at them and weigh them with those guidelines, or the 3 that I had highlighted before. And then we make a decision. And don't say, I am going to throw away my vote. If you're really convinced that out of the 4 that we have on the ballot, they have what you think is what qualifies one to be a good leader, just vote for them, you know, without necessarily thinking I am losing my kura or I have to vote this one because he is the popular one in my region. I think let's use the guiding principles, let's look at leaders and weigh them and vote for them out of our own convictions, because we believe that they are the right leaders for our nation and they are going to make a difference. Yes.
It's coming to you, Bwana Chege. What should our people, you know, do different? Because we're also running out of time to, you know, come to the end of this show. what should Kenyans do different for them to make the right choice?
First, I want to ask Kenyans to look at the history of the people who are our candidates. I think that is very key. Because if somebody was able to run down an institution, it means that he has capacity to run any other institution that comes his way. The second thing is just what, like Madam Diana has said. I know they say that when you go to parliament, we will need very many parliamentarians on your political party so that the relevant laws can be passed at ease. But the question is, the current parliament had actually very many people from the same political party. But did they really pass all the laws that we needed, including the one that gender rule? They didn't. So the theory of saying, or people telling us, that we need to elect people from the same political party is actually a wrong theory. I personally want to propose to Kenyans to look at the individual people without considering first which political party they can actually come from or which tribe they come from, but they elect people who are incorruptible, people who have the capacity to perform. In so doing, we'll open a new page. I want to believe if we put good leaders in parliament, in county assemblies, in the Senate, if they are of the same substance, they can actually agree without a single coercion on the well-being of Kenyans, and they can get us to have the correct rules, and Kenya will move forward. But it's just sad to record that where we have used a suit in electing our leaders, grievous mistakes have been done out of that school of thought. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And as you also come to the conclusion, Waruguru, you interact with the young people, and even the faction that you work with deals with the young people, of course, mobilizing them and calling them for the peace. There is so much talks around that the young people are the decision makers for the this election, and also they are the biggest percentage. Is that something that the young people should take as a weapon for them to make a change, putting in consideration all factors that we have been swayed into a certain direction each and every season?
I think it still comes down to the qualities of who is the leader that we really want, and what are the issues that we are facing. And when you look at the competence they have, because like for example, when you look at some of our presidential candidates, they have been in power for a very long time. So you are able to weigh their competence from their track record. So I think it's to ask the young people to really ask, I have this vote, it is my power, it is what is going to determine how my life and us as a country, which direction we go. So it is to ask ourselves, who is going to bring the change that I want to see as a young person in this nation? Who is going to meet the needs of young people, the issues of unemployment, the issues of education in our nation, the issues of health in our nation. And I was reading somewhere, and I was looking at how the young people are actually the greatest beneficiary, or the ones who suffered the consequences the longest, when wrong decisions are made by leaders, because they are still young and they have a longer life. So I think for the young people, for me, is to tell them, look at that vote that you have or is in your hands as your power to really decide what direction this country goes in the next 5 years, and who is it you are going to bestow that power on to make decisions on your behalf, to ensure that allocation of resources is equitable, there is social justice in this country, that you will not be discriminated when you want a position, that your children, you probably have young children, that they're able to access good education without paying an arm and a leg. So I think it's very important to look at that vote as a weapon, but also as very critical in deciding where we go as a nation in the next 5 years, but also how your life is going to be in the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And Bwana Chege, as you also come to the conclusion of this discussion, the Kenyans perhaps, are facing a situation where they, or rather we should say they must elect a leader to represent them. As you speak to the Kenyan people, what kind of a leader do you think Kenyans should look for in the August polls?
Thank you. I think Kenyans should first get prepared that God has given us a day to make a change. And they should be able to actually know that it is a turning point for each one of us as individuals, but as a country. So for me, we should be able to go for Kenyans who have character. Number two, we should be able to go for Kenyans who are competent. Three, we should have Kenyans come on board who are committed to the issues that they tell us, because I think we have very many empty promises. Fourthly, we should have Kenyans who are actually accountable. Accountability is very key. In the business world, we say, in God we trust, but in men we audit. For instance, I'm a father. My wife knows that I'm actually here. Why? Because I'm accountable. That does not make me an inferior man. I'm just behaving the way I'm expected. And possibly this is the irreducible minimum for Kenyans. Accountability.
And accountability and integrity is one of the biggest factors that we should look out for. And I think we have less than a minute, to conclude this particular show. Ms. Waruguru, what would be your final words in regards to the general discussion of, leadership qualities, and for us to elect leaders that have quality, as well as, focus on the issue based by the leaders, just in less than 20 seconds.
Okay, I think for me is to tell young people and everyone who is watching that you have a responsibility to this nation, first to vote, but also to do your research, do your homework, and know the leaders who you are going to be voting for and to be choosing from on August 9th. But also to look at leaders who have character, who are compassionate, and who have competence, and people who are engaging the issues, the current issues that we are facing as a nation. But also to say that I believe that we are the change that we want to see in this country. And if you are asking other people to have integrity and accountability, it has also to start with us as individuals, because our leaders are a reflection of us. So it is also for us as individuals to uphold integrity, to be also accountable in our areas of profession and the areas that we come from, and do what needs to be done. So let us go out, vote. You have the power. There are very many good people out there who are vying. Just do your homework.
And Bwana Chege, in less than 30 seconds, what would be your final remarks?
My final remarks is this. After people apply for a job, they are shortlisted. The beautiful part is the interview, just to check on the right person. Let's interview these people. They're asking for jobs. Let's interview them. Let's interrogate them. Let's settle down for the best candidates ever.
I think that is fair enough. We settled down for the best candidate ever. And that is where we wind up this particular discussion. Thank you so much, for making time this evening to come here, share your thoughts in regards to securing a peaceful election. Of course, the discussion surrounding leadership qualities and also issue-based campaigns, that our leaders are making campaigns that are full of promises, but we need to evaluate the issues that they raise. Then Charles Chege is the NCCK Chair, Nairobi County Coordinating Committee, and Diana Waruguru, works with the Focus, that is a peace campaign, is a peace campaign coordinator. Thank you so much for making time this evening, and that is where we wind up this particular discussion, hoping that you have been able, to grasp one or two thoughts in regards to what should transpire in the August polls. My name is Chris Sambo, and have a lovely evening and good night.